Hi everyone, welcome to this week's homework video. Okay, let's start off by talking about two different sentence types that we've been speaking about in the lessons this week. We've got simple sentences and compound sentences. And not only do we need to be able to tell the difference between the two, but we need to make sure that we're using a variety of these in our own writing. Okay, so there's going to be plenty of practice with this over the coming weeks. So on the screen, we've got a table, and underneath where it says simple sentence, it says it has just one clause, idea. They mean pretty much the same thing, and no coordinating conjunction. Okay, so a simple sentence has one clause, one idea, and no coordinating conjunction. Okay, now if that sounds a bit confusing, don't worry, it won't for too long. A compound sentence has two ideas. You think of them as two mini sentences, joined together with a coordinating conjunction. Okay. So let me just summarize. Simple sentence, one idea. Compound sentence, two ideas. Simple sentence, no conjunction. Compound sentence, one conjunction. Okay. So if we look at these examples below in the white, I will go to the cinema on Saturday. It's underneath simple sentence. Why? Well, firstly, it's because it's got one idea. The only thing that's happening is I am saying I will go to the cinema on Saturday. Okay, that's all. We've got one idea, one clause, okay? It's got no conjunction, okay? No conjunction at all. We've just got a straightforward simple sentence. Now, simple sentences can have adjectives and adverbs and prepositions. They can have all sorts of word classes. They just can't have another conjunction introducing another idea, another clause, okay? That's it. So they're not necessarily boring sentences, but they only say one thing. They only tell us one thing. A compound sentence gives us two ideas. So look at this example. I will go to the cinema on Saturday and my brother will go to the park. This is a compound sentence because we have two ideas. The first idea is I will go to the cinema on Saturday, and the second idea is my brother will go to the park. Now these are like two independent sentences. I'm going to the cinema, my brother's going to the park, but we join them together using a coordinating conjunction. And of course we have that comma before it as well. Now if we look below in this black rectangle here, we have the coordinating conjunctions we can use in the compound sentence. We've got for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Try your best to memorize those. Okay, you're not expected to remember them straight away, but keep practicing them, and hopefully you can remember them one day, because it will make it much easier for you to make your own compound sentences and identify compound sentences. You can also remember them with the acronym FANBOYS. F-A-N-B-O-Y-S. Fanboys. Okay, and each letter stands for a different coordinating conjunction. Okay, so simple sentence, one idea. Compound sentence, two ideas, joined together with a coordinating conjunction. Right, now if it doesn't make sense at the moment, it's perfectly fine. We're going to look at some more examples, and sometimes things take practice, okay? So don't worry if it's a bit confusing at the moment. Let's move on. Here's two more examples. Simple sentence. It started to rain heavily. There's no conjunction joining on another idea. We just stop after the first idea. It started to rain heavily, and that's it. We've said one thing. But I can make it into a compound sentence by adding a coordinating conjunction and then a separate idea. It started to rain heavily, but I managed to find shelter. So if we look at this compound sentence, we've got this idea here, and we've got this idea here, and they relate, don't they? They relate. It started to rain and I found some shelter. They relate, okay? And they are like two sentences. First sentence would be, it started to rain heavily. Second sentence would be, I managed to find shelter. However, we don't say it's two sentences, we say it's one sentence because there's only one full stop. Yeah, they're connected into one longer sentence. Okay, and once again, we've got our coordinating conjunction with our comma. Okay, we must always put a comma before a coordinating conjunction. Okay, let's look at another example. The peaceful river ran along the towering trees. Okay, so you can see we've got some adjectives in this sentence, which proves that simple sentences aren't synonymous with boring sentences. They don't have to be boring. As long as they don't have that conjunction, they are simple sentences. Okay, so the peaceful river ran along the towering trees. And here I've changed it into a compound sentence by adding a conjunction. This time I used the conjunction so. The peaceful river, I've missed out the word here, sorry. The peaceful river ran along the towering trees, so I got out my sketchbook and attempted to draw the beautiful landscape. We've got two ideas. First idea, we're talking about the river. The second idea, I get my sketchbook out, we join them together using a coordinating conjunction. Okay. Now, when you write compound sentences, don't forget that before the conjunction we must have this comma. Okay. It might take a bit of practice, but eventually we want to be making sure that we include that comma as well. All right. Now, let me hide my camera because I might be covering the writing. I can't tell. Okay. I've written a bit about this picture. The moon rose from behind the house, yet a glimpse of the sun could still be observed. So there is a compound sentence. We've got two ideas. The moon rose from behind the house is one idea. A glimpse of the sun could still be observed is another idea. And they're joined together using this coordinating conjunction, yet. I decided to investigate the abandoned mansion, for I have a passion for scary houses. Now, you might think, some of you might think that that doesn't make sense, the word for. But we're using for here in a very different way to what we're used to. For can also mean because. Okay, it's a conjunction that means because. So I decided to investigate the abandoned mansion because I have a passion for scary houses. All right. So this use of the word for, it means because. So on the screen there are two sentences. Sentence 1, sentence 2. Both of those are compound sentences. Okay. Now, what we want to begin doing quite a lot is when we're doing creative writing, we want to continue using simple sentences, but we want to make sure that we're also using compound sentences. Okay. It shows a really rich variety of writing skills in your writing. So make sure that you bear this in mind next time you're doing any creative writing, and we will be doing plenty of it in the coming weeks. So you'll have a lot of opportunities to practice that. But now, have a go at yourself, okay? So, at this point, could you pause the video and write two sentences about this picture, but make sure that they are both compound. But the things to remember are we must remember the comma, okay? And we must, so let me just circle them, 2 seconds. We must remember these commas that come before the conjunctions, okay? But also, we must try and challenge ourselves with the use of conjunction, okay? So, you can see at the bottom we've got 7 types of conjunctions. Maybe try to use one you're not very familiar with, okay, and challenge yourself. But the most important thing is that you write 2 compound sentences and get used to this idea. Okay. All right, so that's all I'm going to say about the simple and compound sentences. I expect that it makes some sense at the moment, but as the weeks go on, it will start to make perfect sense. Now, there is a third sentence type called the complex sentence. Now, I don't want you to think about that too much. I don't want you to revise it or anything like that, because I don't want you to be confused by it. If we start talking about complex sentences, it's going to kind of conflate everything we've learned so far. But be mindful that in a couple of weeks, we'll be looking at complex sentences, and then we'll have 3 sentence types to use in our story, which will make our writing be brilliant, okay? All right, next up, we've got verbal reasoning, and we've got a task here called partial words. Now, you will be familiar with the 3 sentences on the screen because we did these together, but once I've spoken through these and remind you of how it all works, I'm going to give you brand new ones for you to try yourself, okay? So the way it works is inside each sentence, we have a word which is written entirely in capital letters. So that one, got this one here, and here, okay? Now, you can see that they don't make sense. These aren't real words. Okay, so what we need to do is figure out what the words should be, and then when we know that, we should be able to find a missing 3-letter word. Let me tell you what I mean, okay? So, Simon and John attended the same school. Now, I know you know the answer already, but if you don't, we need to think about, well, what could that word be? Simon and John and school. What could this all mean? Simon and John both go to the same school. Once we've got that sort of try to fall, we should soon realise that this word should be attended. But that's one part of it. The next part is we've got to figure out, well, what 3-letter word is missing from attended to make it make sense. So we know the word should be attended. So if I write that word out, what 3-letter word do I need to add to attended to make it attended? And the answer in this case would be end. Okay, attended. If you put it all together, you can see we have spelled the word attended. Okay, so the answer to this question is end. The answer isn't attended. The answer is end. Okay, we're looking for a real three-letter word which is missing. The word is always a real English word. Okay, so the next one, the trainee sailor tied everything in X. Okay, well, when I first read this sentence, the first thing I thought of when I saw the word tied is tie my laces. And I know that when I tie my laces, I tie them in knots. So when we look at this word, well, I know knots begins with a K and ends with an S. So it looks like knots would be the answer. But how do we spell it? K-N-O-T-S. So the answer to this one is not. Okay, not is the missing three-letter word. And then finally, John's monitor and keyboard were next to his comma. Okay, well, a monitor and a keyboard all relate to a computer. Okay, so we know that this word should be computer, but what word is missing? C-O-M-P-U-T-E-R. Okay, the word put is missing. P-U-T is a real word, so we know that this is the answer. The answer is put. Okay, now, the missing three-letter word can be right at the beginning of the word, right at the end of the word, bang in the middle of the word, but it is always together. Okay, the three letters are always consecutive, they're always in a row. Okay, so let me give you some to do all by yourself, ones that you haven't seen before. And here they are. So we've got 5 sentences. Look at the words that are highlighted in blue and see if you can work out the three-letter word that is missing from each sentence. Okay, so pause the video, do that, and when you're done, press play. Okay, next thing I want to talk to you about is prepositional phrases beginning sentences. Now we know what prepositions are. 2 seconds, guys. This is a mistake by me. I do apologize. This should be personification phrases. Okay, my bad. Personification phrases beginning sentences. Let's do that again. Okay, so personification, we know what that is. It is when something that isn't human acts like a human. We make it behave like a human. Okay, and we've discussed why we do this. We do this to bring the story to life. Okay, to give good character to our story. But what I want you to start practicing doing is, all of you now are amazing at using personification in your stories, but let's now try and use them at the beginning of our sentences, just so that we can show variety. Okay, so my first sentence says, smiling at the village below, the moon rose quietly behind the abandoned mansion. So we've got the smiling moon in this sentence, but you can see that I started my sentence with a phrase with the personification in it. Okay, the personification is beginning the sentence. And then the same could be said for the next one. Dancing gently in the wind, the trees stood like guarding soldiers. And finally, huddling together as if forming a plan, the clouds were particularly dull and grey in colour. So, once again, can we write 3 sentences about the picture on the screen, beginning each sentence with some personification? So what you want to do is you want to think about the thing that you want to personify. So it could be the trees, the house, the clouds, grass, moon, whatever it is you want to personify. Maybe make something up. If there's something in the picture, if there's something not in the picture, use your imagination and pretend it is, okay? Because the main thing here is that we can use personification at the beginning of our sentences, okay? So think about the thing that you want to personify, think about what it's doing that's like a human, and begin your sentence with that thing, all right? And then the rest should flow. Okay, let's move on. All right, so this is the final thing I'm going to talk about today. Very, very important. Please listen carefully. As of next week, we will begin our big Amazon story writing project where we are publishing. We're becoming self-published authors so that we can publish books in time for Christmas, and they will make amazing gifts for your friend, for your siblings, for your grandparents, for your parents, for your aunts, for your uncles. It would be an amazing achievement if we could all do this, and we can do this. The only issue is we've got 6 weeks. Okay, I must send off our Christmas stories to Amazon by the 1st of December, which is 6 weeks away, which means we've got 6 weeks from this moment now until our deadline. So we've got 6 weeks to do this. Now 6 weeks might sound a lot of time. To me it doesn't. Maybe to you it does. But 6 weeks is about the very minimum we need to get this done. So we need to make sure that we're working very, very well and very, very quickly. Now, some of you, not many, but a few of you won't be in the lessons next week, which is fine. But please, 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 if you are not attending next week, you absolutely must watch the next homework video as we write out its plan. It's the most important part. So for the next week's lessons, as well as maths, verbal, non-verbal, we'll be starting thinking about a story and planning it. We'll be planning at the beginning, the build-up, the dilemma, the resolution, and the ending. We'll be doing 5 sections of planning, okay? So if you're attending the lessons as normal, don't worry, I'll make sure that you get it done. But if you're not, it's very important that you watch next week's homework video and make sure you don't fall behind, okay? Because I'm going to tell you how we plan, and I need you to have that for your next lesson, okay? So please, 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 please make sure that you watch next week's homework video if you're not attending next week. Okay, thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the week and the weekend. Bye guys.